The first snowstorm arrived before sunrise, swallowing the lonely valley in silence. Every fence disappeared beneath white drifts. Every road became a frozen trail, and every hope seemed buried under the weight of winter. On that bitter morning, a hungry father stood outside a struggling ranch with two frightened children, holding tightly to his worn coat. He had no money, no food, and no place left to go. All he carried were rough hands shaped by years of hard work and a promise that sounded impossible. He silently wished that if someone would simply give his children a little milk, he would dedicate every ounce of strength he had to saving the ranch. Neither he nor the widow who owned that land knew that this desperate meeting would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to the English Stories channel so you never miss another heart-touching journey. The ranch belonged to Emily Carter, a widow in her late 30s who had lost her husband 2 winters earlier during a terrible blizzard. Since then, she had fought every day to keep the ranch alive while raising her 10-year-old son, Noah. The cattle had become weaker each season, the barn roof leaked whenever heavy snow fell, and unpaid bills continued to pile up on the old wooden table inside her small farmhouse. Many neighbors quietly believed she would lose the ranch before spring. Emily refused to give up, but every morning became a little harder than the last. She carried her grief in silence because she believed tears could not feed animals or repair broken fences. That same morning, Daniel Brooks reached the ranch after walking for miles through freezing wind with his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and 5-year-old son, Ben. Once, Daniel had been known as one of the finest ranch workers in another county. He could repair fences, rebuild barns, care for livestock, and fix almost anything made of wood or steel. But after the factory where he worked closed, everything collapsed. Savings disappeared. His wife became seriously ill and passed away within a year. Unable to keep paying rent, Daniel and his children drifted from town to town, searching for honest work, until winter trapped them with nowhere else to turn. Emily noticed the exhausted family standing near the broken gate. She saw the children's pale faces and trembling hands before she noticed the father. Although fear told her not to trust strangers, compassion spoke louder. She invited the children into the warm kitchen and poured fresh milk into 2 cups. They drank slowly, as though they feared it might disappear. Daniel refused to sit until his children finished. Looking around the neglected property, he quietly realized the ranch was falling apart. Without asking for charity, he began examining damaged fences, frozen water pipes, and the collapsing barn roof. He understood immediately that the ranch needed far more than luck to survive the season. Without expecting payment, Daniel started working before the sun reached its highest point. He cut fallen trees into usable lumber, reinforced broken fence posts buried beneath snow, repaired frozen water lines feeding the cattle, and strengthened the old barn using abandoned timber stacked behind a shed. Emily watched in disbelief as years of neglected repairs slowly disappeared under his steady hands. Every evening he returned covered in snow and sawdust, exhausted but grateful, simply because his children had warm soup and a safe place to sleep. Days became weeks, and the ranch slowly came back to life. The cattle gained strength because fresh water flowed again. The horses finally had secure stalls, protected from icy winds. Even Noah, who had rarely smiled since losing his father, began following Daniel around the ranch, eagerly learning how to repair tools and care for animals. Daniel never tried to replace Noah's father. Instead, he taught him patience, responsibility, and quiet confidence. Emily noticed that the sadness inside her son slowly gave way to hope. Then, another storm struck, harder than anyone expected. Snow buried the valley almost overnight, and freezing winds shattered several sections of the northern fence. Worse still, a pregnant cow wandered into the blizzard and disappeared. Losing her would mean financial disaster for the already struggling ranch. Emily felt panic rising inside her as darkness approached. Searching in those conditions could cost a person their life. Daniel refused to let fear decide the outcome. Wrapping himself in thick blankets and carrying only a lantern and rope, he disappeared into the white storm while neighbors stayed safely inside their homes. Hours passed with no sign of him. Emily feared she had allowed another good man to vanish into the same unforgiving winter that had taken her husband. Just before dawn, a distant sound echoed across the frozen fields. Daniel emerged through the blowing snow, barely able to stand. Behind him walked the exhausted cow, followed by her newborn calf. His gloves were frozen solid, his face was pale from the cold, and his hands were bleeding where the rope had cut into them. Yet he smiled only after seeing the animals safely inside the barn. In that single moment, everyone understood that he had saved far more than livestock. He had rescued the ranch's future. News of Daniel's courage spread across nearby communities. Ranchers who had once ignored Emily now offered hay, tools, and supplies. A local carpenter volunteered new roofing materials, while another neighbor delivered feed for the cattle until spring arrived. People who had forgotten the true meaning of community remembered that one act of kindness often inspires dozens more. As winter slowly loosened its grip, green grass finally appeared beneath melting snow. The ranch survived its hardest season stronger than anyone believed possible. Emily offered Daniel a permanent position managing the ranch, along with a small cottage where he and his children could finally call somewhere home. For the first time since losing their mother, Lily and Ben laughed freely without worrying where they would sleep. The next night, Noah no longer felt alone, and Emily realized that hope sometimes arrives wearing worn boots instead of expensive clothes. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness still exists, and subscribe to the English Stories channel, because every act of support helps us bring more inspiring stories to people around the world. Before this story ends, we have one special request. Please write "Kindness always returns" in the comments if you believe that even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life forever. When Daniel first arrived, he asked for nothing except a little milk for his hungry children. He never imagined that simple request would lead to a new beginning for both families. Emily thought she was saving strangers from hunger, but in reality, she was welcoming the very person who would save everything she had left. Sometimes miracles do not arrive with wealth or perfect timing. Sometimes they arrive quietly, disguised as tired people carrying broken hearts, willing hands, and the courage to keep going. And when kindness meets determination, even the coldest winter cannot stop spring from coming.